Hey guys, alright, so I did mention in one of the other videos that I was going to give a brief description of what I do for pressing. Now, like I said in the other video, that I picked up a t-shirt press, which is exactly the same press as you would get for pressing comics. There are a lot of different models out there. There are some that go for thousands of dollars, and you get what you pay for. If you're going to spend that kind of money, you're going to get a much more accurate machine, no doubt. But I was able to get this one, 156. Again, free shipping, no tax, so that was the final cost. It had a bunch of other little accessories that, who knows, I might actually use someday. But for 156, and it has been a learning curve. I am enjoying this, and I'm saving money off of having the books pressed outside. I am nowhere near as good as outdoor, exterior pressers. These guys have done it for thousands of books, learned all the things that I'm still learning. They know ways of still making, I consider my best work is still something that they consider to be amateurish. But if you want to start learning how to do it, and you get yourself a heat press, then, I'm not going to recommend a specific brand or anything. Zoom in if you like it. So my personal preference of what I do is I have figured out my times and temperatures. There are sites that show you like a charts to what to go with. Books that are not modern. The older books, they advise not going above 160, 165 degrees. You will damage the pages. You will get color bleed. You'll get them to stick together, and the cover will stick to the pages. They're not kidding. The modern books, really moderns, and where it's almost like cover paper all the way through, 145 degrees, 5 minutes each side. That's it. Do not go above that. You will turn it into cardboard. So what I do is turn it on, and in between each book, even when in between each book, when it's cool, all right, I just run my hands over the entire hot plate. The last thing I did find out one time, there was a little speck of something that was against it, and I didn't know. And I wound up pressing it into the cover of the book, and I had this nice crater, right, a little dimple, right, because somebody took a little nail right into it. And no matter what I did, I couldn't press that back out. So I was using dollar bin books at the time. I was learning, and that's what I probably did for my first 40, 50 presses, just learning how to do stuff, and it paid off very, very well. So what I do is we're going to be pressing Haunted Mansion, #1. I've got a couple copies of this. I picked them up for my wife. She loves Disney, and, well, actually, so do I. She just saw me drinking my Stitch coffee cup the other day. So what I do is I've got the silicone page on the bottom with a large size backing board. Now, I would recommend getting magazine size. You can get them at, like, hobby stores even, in large, the thicker, the better, okay? You want to get something with some weight to it. If you start to see color bleed on this from using them, don't continue using it. You will transfer that color from one book to the next. As long as you keep your temperatures below the point, you shouldn't get color bleed onto this, and you should be able to reuse them. So I put it in. I do the back cover first, as my machine is warming up. And I also mentioned in the past video that my machine is not accurate. So you'll see 95 on the display, but it's actually 146 degrees. And I don't like to push all the way to the limit of what the pages can handle. But as far as temperature, if it can handle up to 150, I'm not going to 149.5. I put the backing board just inside the back cover. Okay, now some people put another one in the middle. I don't. I make sure that there are no inserts. Sometimes the inserts are smaller than the rest of the book, and you will press that outline almost like a ridge all the way around in those pages. Make sure that you have no dog ears, no pages folded over, no anything. You want to make sure it's clean. I'm not getting into cleaning the book with cotton balls. I really am not great at that myself. I put the book in face down, doing the back cover first. I put the spine out towards me. I find that since the book, the machine has got a tendency to do this, because that's where your center point is, your fulcrum. Any machine, no matter how good it has any play whatsoever, will go like that, away from its base. I've got one that has multiple springs here that kind of level it out, and that's fine, but you're still going to wind up with that. So I make sure that the book is completely over the backing board that's on the bottom. Silicone sheet. Do not forget this. I usually will put it on top of here so I can't accidentally close it. Because if you do forget it, you will regret it. Now, where's my gun? Here's my heat gun. I'm going to check. I'm under 140 degrees because the machine is still warming up. That's good. I've got a timer on this. Now, the timer does not turn the machine off. On this particular model, I wish it did. So, since it doesn't, I'm going to close it. You can control how much pressure here, but it's still all based on the springs. I'm going to start the timer. I've got my timer set for 10 minutes because this is a relatively newer book. Older books, people will press for up to half an hour, but it's really not that bad. But if you set your timer 10 minutes, you go do something, you go make a cup of coffee, watch another YouTube video of mine, preferably. You can just talk. I'm not going to have you sit here for the entire 10 minutes. Don't worry. I'm going to pause this. But, just while I'm pausing this and you're thinking for a second, this might be a great opportunity for you to hit that like button or even make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. So I'm going to push pause, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, yes, and don't adjust your sets. I did change my shirt. I also got a cup of coffee, and I talked to a couple of other people upstairs. Anyway, I've got 5 seconds left, and then my timer goes off. This is the 10-minute point. And you can do a lot of stuff in 10 minutes. There it is. So we'll hit reset. We're going to open it up. Swing it out of the way. Now, before, what I said about checking the bottom of your plate, don't do it now because it's hot as hell. Take your top sheet, put it somewhere where you're not going to forget to put it down. Your back is done. Check it out, make sure everything looks good. Bottom sheet looks nice and clean. And take it out. Open up your front cover. Take the board out carefully. You don't want to cause any damage to counteract what you're doing with your pressing. Put that into your front. Again, make sure that the book is completely over the board on the bottom. Spine towards me, just how I like it. I just find that I get better results that way. It might be just the way that this particular press works, but it's just like having a used car. You have to learn, how to start it and how many times you got to pump the gas. And I'm going to close it and start my timer. Now, what some people do, and I do also sometimes myself, is you set up a perfectly flat area. It could be a slab. I found that actually getting slabs of marble. Go to a cabinet maker, somebody that does cabinet and countertops, and see if you can get some break-off pieces, some small pieces. Sometimes they might sell you a small section. As long as it's bigger than the comic book, then that's fine. You get one of those that's perfectly smooth. You're talking about a really smooth surface. You put the comic book on there, you put another slab on top of that, and you can put weight if you want to. That's a good way of doing a cold press. Me, I like to do a hot press and a cold press. And what I do is, since I already have a press here, is when this 10 minutes is up, and again, there's a newer comic, 10 minutes, older comic, 30 minutes per side. I'll turn it off and generally leave it in there for a minimum of 2 hours. If it's something I really want to have a good cold press, I will leave it in overnight. That'll be the last one I do at the night. But in pressing with the heat, you get a very good, you make the paper very malleable. And if you lock it in and then you turn it off and let it cool down with the machine, that paper then becomes rigid again and keeps the new memory, and paper has memory, believe it or not, of the flat surface. So that's why when you bend a piece of paper and you've got that crease in it, it's got a memory. When it's a hard crease, you're never going to get it out. But sometimes you have that bow look to it, like I have on my Ultimate Fallout number 4. Kind of like an old subscription crease. Okay, some of them you can get out, some of them you can't. And even if you can't get it out, you can improve it. Okay, and that's That's what I'm trying to do with my books. I'm trying to improve them. I'm not trying to make them back to the way that they came day one. Someday I might get good enough with a press and buy a better press or whatever. But the whole idea is just to try to make things better. And if I can take a 7 and turn it into an 8, or I can take a 9 and turn it into a 9.4, and all it takes is a couple of times I come down to the basement, I close it and hit start. Come back half an hour later, close it and hit start, and turn it off. During work nights, I'll do 2 or 3 comics a night. It's 2 or 3 comics more than I had if I didn't do it. So, again, if you found this information helpful, please hit like and subscribe, share to your friends. If you have any other suggestions or tips, I would love it if you shared them. I understand that it is people that are really experts at it don't share their tips, because then everybody would be an expert and they wouldn't get paid to do what their trade is. I'm not trying to steal the money from them, but at the same time, everybody wants to try to make their books better, and not everybody has the money to just send out 100 books at $12 a piece. It's $1,200. The average comic collector can't do that, so if we can buy a press for $150 and try to do a whole bunch of books in our collection, make them look better, then that's what we're all here to do. So again, I appreciate all your time. If you have any comments, or suggestions, please throw them in. I'll read them. Thank you.